very pleased to be able to be with you for this session, which is in tribute to our founding chairman, Sir Colin Spedding, observed stag beetle. The memorial lecture has previously been hosted in the format of a lecture and of an interview. And today we're taking the opportunity to interview not one, but two wonderful people who understand the true value of collaboration. So I'm pleased to welcome back Lucy Grieve, who we met already this morning, and she is Veterinary Projects Officer at the British Equine Veterinary Association. And joining her is Amanda Stoddart-West, who is Livestock and Entries Coordinator at the Yorkshire Agricultural Society. Together, we'll be talking about advancing equine wellbeing at the Great Yorkshire Show and beyond. Before we do, Proverbs. I can't possibly go any further without sticking another one in. Our founding chairman, Sir Colin, was excessively fond of a Chinese proverb, as we've heard already. David has peppered his presentation with some already, and the observant amongst you will have noticed that Dennis has already used this one, so if we're playing proverb snap, we're in. So a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single footstep, and I think we'll find this applies to the initiatives we're about to hear about. So, to crack on, Amanda, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. When did you first realise that you could see challenges with the way people were handling their horses at the Great Yorkshire Show, and what changes did you think to bring about?
Okay, so I think it's fair to say that with like anything competitive, it can bring out the best and the worst in all of us. I think at times the exhibitor is so in the moment or stressed that they may not be really aware of what they're doing or how it's viewed by others, and how things that were once allowed or accepted practices are no longer permitted. I think we started tweaking such things as the minimum age for bringing foals to the show just about before 2010, as it was obvious some foals were being tracked, well, halfway across the country at very young ages.
Yeah, would seem to be an important intervention. Thoughts from the veterinary profession?
Yeah, well, I think it just brings back to our theme today about teamwork, doesn't it? When you're faced with any of these kinds of challenges, it's really difficult to confront them on your own. And as vets, we've certainly sought to sort of support these facing these challenges and try and bring to it our own skill sets. And it involves everybody in the room, again, as usual, to play their role. And we hope that by supporting those kinds of initiatives and trying to provide the science to back them up and the evidence that we need to bring them forwards will hopefully help safeguard the future of the horse and its role in sport and pleasure.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. So collaboration would seem to be key. So when did you become aware, Amanda, that the changes that you were bringing about were making a difference and that you should carry on with them?
Okay, well, to start with, we're extremely fortunate at Great Yorkshire to have Julian Rishworth as our equine vet, who, fair to say, has been my guiding light throughout the 21 years that we've been working there together. We introduced the 20% rider weight ratio, including the saddle, etc., a rule that Julian and I proposed to the Animal Welfare and Biosecurity meeting. This was approved for the 2016 show. The story was published in Horse and Hound, and it was viewed 175,464 times. It was the top story of the year, so big thank you to Eleanor Jones for your ongoing support. Without her, I don't think we'd be where we are now. We've received numerous messages of support for the rule from around the world. Even now, receive messages from riders, breeders, judges, vets, saddlers, and the wider equestrian community. It really feels like a good thing to have done, and we'll keep going.
Challenging, sensitive?
Yeah, I think it is. We can imagine that this is going to be a bit of a sensitive subject, and for some it probably wasn't welcomed, I guess, when it first came out. But again, as a veterinary community, we really appreciated helping with this issue because, you know, trying to sort of put a number on these things is difficult. We know that it's a starting point, though, that 20% rule. We appreciate there's a lot of other factors involved, and it's hard to put an exact number on it. But if we can begin somewhere, then at least we can plant the seed for people to start thinking about it as well. You know, and it encourages people to think about the horse, particularly. Try and remove ourselves as humans, riders, competitors, try and remove the ego from it, and think about the horse with our equiscope, and try and improve their welfare so that we can keep using them in sports and keep enjoying our time with them. Because ultimately we've got the upper hand here, whether we like it or not. You know, we've got a duty of care, and we need to step up there and do something about it. So this was a great great place to start and to have everyone talking about it.
I love the equiscope. Did other shows have their equiscope up? And were they interested in what you were doing, and were they keen to follow suit?
Well, as shows, we do have a membership organisation where I am constantly raising welfare issues. I almost have my own slot now. They look at me as to say, what are you going to deliver this year? But anyway, they've sort of got used to that now. I believe most shows have been very interested and have taken these points on board. And I think they're following the changes, and we get a lot of people approach saying, well done, it's really good what you're doing. But when you sort of say, so are your show coming with us? There's a little bit of hesitancy. And I suppose, well, I know dealing with committees, some who've been on those committees for 30 years plus are not particularly pro-change. That takes a long time. So we sort of had the benefit of the Animal Welfare and Biosecurity Committee. And so anything we introduced, we tend to sort of go through them, and then it was a driver to our Equine Committee. And I think the Equine Committee were quite glad when there was anything controversial to be able to actually say, well, it didn't come from us, it came from them. Of course, when you got the plaudits, they were very happy at that point, but that's how we go. And I think having two sort of separate committees or more than one committee where you actually back each other is really useful. In a similar vein, we introduced welfare stewards at last year's show. And again, they perform a very different role to our normal equine stewards, half of whom know the exhibitors, they're local to the area, and there was a sense of, can we ask our volunteers to actually do this? So bringing in separate equine welfare stewards has really made it a lot easier. Last year, the two stewards were Cathy Hyde and Tamsin Furtado, who basically have got jobs for life. Julian said they are coming back, aren't they, every year? So he's very keen to have them on board.
So yeah, interesting advance. So you meant the welfare stewards, or the concept of welfare stewards. How did that come about, and what's the uptake been like?
Okay, so at the ASAO, which means the Association of Shows and Agricultural Organisations, managed to get that one right for a change. I'd stepped in for somebody doing a presentation regarding social licence to operate, alongside Rayner, who was on Zoom, who the slides popped up. I think the first half a dozen were about Great Yorkshire. So it looked like we'd set it up, and we really hadn't. They were quite sort of, well, very welcome to me. Following the presentation, I was approached by Betsy Brannion, who's an event organiser for several shows, one of them being Royal Three Counties. And she came up and sort of saying, it's really great what you're doing. Would you come to Three Counties and be the welfare steward? Which I did, and from that, other shows were sort of saying, can you come to us? So we went to the Veteran Horse Society Championships for Julianne Aston. Cathy Hyde and Jill Perkins accompanied me there, and then the Carnival of Dressage organised by Katie Amos. We've since sort of set up a group, and now we've got lots of individuals ranging from vets, judges, stewards, exhibitors, saddlers, general questions again, and to date have 6 bookings for major shows across the country this year.
So that's turning into quite an impressive collaboration. Yeah. And it's great to hear that the process of the welfare stewards is being formalised, and I understand the British Horse Society, who've spoken to us today, will be supporting you and are going to help with the training of the stewards. What do you hope the wider changes will be, and how might vets be involved with this?
Just to backtrack slightly, so one of the team members, Cathy Hyde, is a British Horse Society welfare officer. She's been instrumental in getting the BHS on board. So we're incredibly grateful to Alicia Pritchard and Gabby Madders from the British Horse Society who are helping to progress the training. The aim is to roll this out this year for anyone who's interested in joining us. The fact that our stewards will have received training from the British Horse Society will make them far more credible. And from the feedback I'm receiving, the association with the BHS also makes it far more attractive to those wanting to get involved. They feel having that sort of backing behind them reassures them. Moving forward, show and event organisers will be able to request welfare stewards at their competitions. Of course, having a vet on board will always be desirable, wherever you are, because occasionally there are times where you're met with some resentment, and I think having a vet, a professional body beside you, it just really helps, invaluable. We're hoping, as I say, we're hoping to sort of get more and more shows involved. We're all passionate equestrians that want to see riding continue in the long term. What happens at shows will probably be happening at home, if not far worse, but hopefully by providing an educational approach, offering advice and support, we can impact on the lives of equines across the board, not just those at competition.
Thoughts from veterinary professionals?
Yeah, I think what you've just said just really emphasises the importance of like everybody playing their role. You know, like everything you've just said there is about people coming together with different skill sets and being able to stand up and say, you know, we're really interested in this and we're really passionate about it and we believe in it and we're coming together to work towards a better solution. And I think bringing all those different allied professions that we mentioned earlier, as you've just said, together and training them up in this welfare officer role, again, just shows we're all working together in a coordinated way. And that gives everyone the confidence then as well, because it can be really tricky, as we've just said, to be that one person standing up for something. But if you've got everyone behind you, and that includes not just numbers, but the raft of different professionals and skill sets, then that does lend more credibility to what we're saying and makes it much easier to stand up and say something. So, I mean, really the whole point of that was to try and sort of safeguard that physical and mental well-being of the horses and make sure that their life is not just good, but is worth living and of high quality throughout.
Brilliant, thank you so much. I think that was a great case study in collaboration and everyone working for the better well-being of the horse. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Jen.
And we will move on with that.